Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tally. If you are new, today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite books of the year. Some of these books had me at the edge of my bed. Some of these books made me cry. All of these books were just amazing. They were either a 4 to 5-star rating. I just had a really good reading year. I planned in reading 80 books this year. Yeah. And I passed that challenge and now I'm aiming for 100 books. I barely have 83, which I think it's impossible, but we're gonna try. Read fiction, non-fiction. I got into fantasy. Cassandra Clare became one of my favorite authors in the fantasy world just because I really loved the Infernal Devices. I'm currently reading The Mortal Instruments. Let's talk about the top 10 books of the year. Now, we're gonna start out with my favorite author, and that is The Green Mile by Stephen King. This was very, very fast, even though it looks kind of long. I feel like it was very fast-paced. I really enjoyed reading from all of these characters. It does talk about the death penalty and convicted killers who are awaiting to die and walk the Green Mile to get to the electric chair. Now we have a really amazing character in this book, and he is called John Coffey and pronounced as Coffee. He is a man with a body of a giant and a mind of a child. He is condemned for a crime he did not commit. I think that this is the best book by Stephen King that I read in the year. The writing style was amazing. 100% recommend. The second book on my top 10 is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I have mentioned this book a lot. It was just very thrilling and suspenseful, but in a magical way, just because of the way that Carlos Ruiz Zafón writes. It's one of those books that you just want to grab a blanket and your pajamas and just cozy up with some hot chocolate. It's just very cozy and magical, and I truly recommend you guys reading this one. Okay, the third book, it is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is historical fiction, and this book made me want to read more of historical fiction. It made me love the genre so much just because it's stories from the past, sometimes fictional characters you really truly begin to love and really feel for and connect with. Go through so many emotions while reading this book just because it's like different refugees who are trying to survive, and each one of them are haunted by lies, war, and tragedy. It is 6 times deadlier than the Titanic. It did occur Mexican Gothic, of course. Silvia Moreno Garcia is an amazing writer. This classic Gothic, a suspense novel. It takes place in an isolated mansion in the 1950s in Mexico. I loved Noemi so much. I think she's such an amazing character that I really enjoyed reading from. All of the other characters were freaking weird, which I loved, you know. Silvia Moreno Garcia did such an incredible job at describing the scenery, the setting. There was a cemetery and lots of mushrooms. I enjoyed the ending. A lot of people did not, but I did. I think this was written beautifully, and it is definitely a story that kept me at the edge of my bed. You guys need to read this if you haven't. Next book, it is a non-fiction, and this was my favorite non-fiction of the year because I did watch the movie, I had to read the book. And it is Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. It was a 5-star rating just because I learned so much about the death penalty and just people being wrongly convicted. Author of the story, Bryan Stevenson, talks about his young years as a lawyer and how he founded the Equal Justice Initiative nonprofit law office in Alabama. What this office did, it defended the poor, the wrongly condemned. It talks about one of his first clients, who was Walter McMillan. Walter McMillan was a young black man who was sentenced to die for the murder of a young white woman, and he did not commit this crime, so he was wrongly convicted. This case, it just exemplifies how the death penalty in America, it was a demonstration of how the system treats rich and the guilty better than the poor and innocent. There was also a lot of other cases where he helped women, a lot of other people. So I would truly recommend you guys reading it and watching the movie if you haven't. The next book is The Poet X. The book was so emotional, so relatable. I connected so much to Xiomara, who is the main character. This book was written in verse, followed a collection of short poems, and Xiomara just takes us through her poetry, just trying to understand her religious mother and the world around her. Her writing style was so powerful. I sometimes wanted to throw the tablet across the room, but I wanted to keep reading. I wish there was like a book that I could have read like this growing up, and it just talks about so many important topics that a lot of Latinx girls go through. And I feel like a lot of young teens can relate to Xiomara. You know, she is in the verge of being a woman. She has to hide a lot of things from her mother just because she's very strict and religious. And there's a scene in the story where she gets her period and she tries to use tampons, and her mother tells her, asks her if she's still a virgin because she's wearing tampons. You know, the myth, but it's definitely not true. On some parts, her mom really made me super angry. The plot was amazing. The whole book was developed very fast but enjoyable way. The book is Furia by Yamile, Saied, Mendez. I did rate it a 5-star. It does take place in Rosario, Argentina. So this is about a rising soccer star who must put everything on the line, even her fling, Diego, to follow her dreams. Now Diego, he is a famous soccer player who is playing in Italy for Juventus FC, and he is very popular in Argentina. All of the town loves him, and she just feels super small, but she is sure that she will be there one day. She lives with her overprotective mother and her strict father, who is very abusive. This book is just filled with dreams and ambitions and just not letting anyone stop you from following your dreams. The romance was amazing. I just feel like I needed this kind of romance. It was not a part where I got bored. I was just so intrigued to read more of the characters. And yeah, that's it. My ninth book is Beneath a Scarlet Sky. This is another recent read that I finished reading a week ago, and it is a historical fiction. Throughout the whole novel, I felt very intrigued to know Pino Lela's story, and he is a real life person who went through the situations that were written in this story. A lot of things did not occur in real life, but I feel like the author did such amazing research. He wrote this story super well about this incredible and courageous person who has helped Jews escape, became a spy, and he went through the most dangerous things, and who was willing to risk his own life for other people. Definitely emotional, and it was just an incredible and a beautifully written story. Okay, and the last book, it is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is the best trilogy that I've read in my whole entire life. Cassandra Clare is an amazing, fast-paced writer, and she is the queen of plot twists, because even if there are so many plot twists, you are just so shocked to read. And she does this amazing thing with characters that you completely fall in love with and just connect with so much, and you just completely fall in love and you dream of, just kidding, not dream of, I might have dreamt of Jem, because she was just amazing. He was my favorite character in the story. If you want to read fantasy, I'd recommend you starting with Clockwork Angel. If you've never read fantasy, please read this first. There are secrets and power and magic and wolves and fairies, and it's just a magical world that you fall into. Just amazing story overall. That's it. Those are my top 10 books of the year. It was very hard to choose. There were a lot of other books that I really enjoyed and that were 5-star rating. This year was incredibly upsetting. I think without books, I think I'd die in this house. Books definitely saved me, and with all these stories and my favorite books, they saved me this year. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys for Vlogmas Day 16. Bye!